Okay, I just thought of this yesterday. I'm pretty sure you'll never have seen this before, but I'm drawing a very, very simple egg shape. I'm gonna light this egg shape like the light is coming in from the left, so the shadow will be there on the right. So let me just skip forward a bit. Very, very simple shadow, nothing fancy. Now I'm gonna draw some ball shapes, and I'm gonna light those in the same way, just a shadow. Just imagine it's an orange or something, and there's a light coming from the left. So there's a shadow forming on that right-hand side, or a bit like the moon or something like that. I end up doing 4 of these. They're slightly different sizes. And then I'm going to do a little wedge shape. It's going to have a side and a top to it, kind of a pyramid shape or a wedge shape. And that's actually going to end up being the nose. So what we're going to do is I'm going to steal my daughter's scissors from her craft set and cut these out. And then I'm going to steal her glue stick and stick them onto the egg. So there's really basic, simple forms. So let me skip forward all of this as I cut them out, put the glue on, and stick those on. So notice how the ball shape under the mouth goes over that ball shape of the chin. Then the nose overlaps that. And then that far side eye goes under the nose. I've actually put these a little bit too central on the egg. They should be more off to the side to match the reference, but this is a very common mistake in drawing too, actually, and I'll fix that later. So then the other eye, all right. Okay, I'm just kind of cleaning it up a bit. Now, there's a cast shadow coming off the nose here. And so I'm just going to add that cast shadow. The light's coming from the side, the nose is sticking out, so it's going to cast a shadow across the face. All right, and what we actually have at this point is the foundation of a portrait, believe it or not. Okay, now you might think that looks mad, this is weird. Okay, but let's keep going. It's definitely not how most people tend to think of drawing a face. But this is definitely how I think about drawing a face. So I am going to cut into the egg shape with that little bit of eye socket. So if you just look on the reference, this little indent that happens over here, just going to cut that in and put a little bit of shadow behind the egg because, there's that tree there, and that will be nice. That will look nice. So now it's time for me to actually start to put in the features. All right, and now the way I'm going to do this, instead of now just trying to kind of draw, okay, I'm going to draw, the shape of an eye, and I'm thinking about an eye. I'm going to close one eye, I'm going to squint at the reference. Right now, I've just got the shadow across the ball, like this. And I'm just going to try to extend that to include, a bit of eyelash, a bit of the pupil and the iris, maybe some of the lower lid. And then over here I've got the cast shadow off the nose, and I'll just try and extend that, right, if you're looking on that reference there, to include some of the eye or the little bit of the top of the eyelid. It's not a super rendered detailed eye, it's an interesting abstract shape, but it's a very specific shape. We've made a new guide called How to Draw an Eye, and it's really different to the normal tutorials about how to draw an eye because it's not about the details of the eye. It's about how do you get that really simple, almost abstract shape that actually appears when you do a good portrait drawing. If you can learn how to get to that shape, which is what this guide teaches you, it actually also holds the secret of all drawing. So that's really cool. This guide's free. Check out the link below. All right, so we're down at the mouth. Right now I have this shadow from that ball, and maybe I just extend that a bit to show the opening at the middle of the mouth. I might show where the opening of the middle of the mouth is, the far side. And I'm going to try as well on this eye to again just pull it out of the shadow shape that I already have. So rather than going into a sort of eye drawing mode, I'm just going to pull out this simple shape to extend it to create those features like this. Okay. And this becomes the basis of drawing a portrait. An egg, 4 ball shapes, and a wedge for the nose. Okay, so now we're going to try a sketch this way, and we're going to try and figure out that egg again. Think about the center line and where that should be. And we're going to build this up in the same way, but instead of like cutting out the shapes and sticking them on, I'm just going to draw them straight on. So I'm going to try and figure out that egg shape of the head. Then I'm going to start trying to build up, you know, that ball shape under the mouth and the ball shape in the eyeballs and the wedge shape of the nose. So I'm going to skip forward a little bit here as I do that. So you can see here that all I've really done, it's that simple. It's as simple as what I had done initially with a simple egg shape, simple wedge shape for the nose, simple ball shape under the mouth and in the chin. Okay, so we're going to keep going here and we're going to build up this sketch as much as we can just with those simple shapes, not trying to add in the nuances and the details. Right, so what we've got right here is we have simple eyeball. It's really nothing more than a ball lit from one side. The nose really is just that wedge, you know, it doesn't have any of the nuances of the nostrils or any of that, right? Then the mouth, there's no lips, but it is a ball shape because of the shape of the teeth underneath the lips. And then the chin has a ball shape to it, and the overall head has a sort of egg shape to it. Now, the way that I've got these cheeks running, the cheeks do come out a bit wide. The forehead, the edge, the corner of the face is a little bit narrower. So I do think about the different corners on the forehead versus on the cheek, how this corner runs. So that's slightly different to just a basic egg. All right, but I really want to get this to be as good as I possibly can before I start moving on to the features and the details. So now I'm ready to draw the actual eye. And there's two different ways I want to see this. So what I've got so far is this kind of shadow from the overall eyeball shape. Like that's what I've done, right, on both eyes. That's all I've got so far, right? And now I'm going to try and draw the eyes themselves. And at this point, I have a risk. And the risk is that I just go, oh my God, I'm drawing an eye, and I just do the classic eye symbol on the top. And this would not be great. So the first thing I want to think about is these lids are wrapping over, the lids have some thickness to them, and they're wrapping around that eyeball shape. So I want to feel, as I draw these, how their lids are wrapping over the ball shape that I've already got. And the other thing is, what I really want to do when I'm drawing all of this stuff is, okay, I've got this part of the shadow so far. I just want to kind of extend that. I don't want to switch over into putting a bunch of lines around everything and suddenly, you know, I end up with this kind of heavy-handed symbol of what an eye looks like, and I think about the, you know, the eyelashes and everything like that. What I really want to think about more is, okay, I've got kind of roughly speaking this bit of shadow here. I want to extend that shape. And so I'm partially thinking about the 3D forms, how the lids wrap over the eyeball. But I'm also thinking in terms of the values, in terms of the light and dark, about how I can take this big simple shadow shape I've got already and just extend that a bit, just nudge that across to create the eye. So let's see in the drawing how I'm going to do that. So I've got this eyeball shape and I'm going to pull out from that. I'm thinking about wrapping over the eyeballs, but I'm also just extending the shape of the shadow to try and create those eyes. Okay, so I'm going to skip forward a bit here. I did have to move the eyes around a bit to get them to work together. Okay, but they're just kind of pulled out of the shadow rather than switching into trying to put a line around the symbol of what an eye looks like. I've also added a few little nuances in the nose, just the rounding here, for example. Maybe we can go back and have a look at how I'm dealing with this mouth. It's the same thing. If you look on the reference here, I had what I had figured out right from the beginning was this kind of simple shape of shadow and how this whole thing kind of is like a ball shape here. So I had that, and then I'm just going to extend that shadow a little bit to show the opening of the mouth. maybe how there's a bit of shadow down here, how there's a little bit over here to show where the opening of the mouth is. And I want to, basically that's it. You know, maybe it's a little bit darker on this downward facing plane, very slightly, but I want to keep it really, really subtle. Most of the work is already done. So let's skip back here for the mouth. Back here, right? I've got that shadow for across the ball shape of the mouth, and I'm just going to pull the rest of the mouth out of that. Okay. All right, so this is a quick 25-minute sketch, and you can see next to it I had my little like cutout shape version. It's very, very similar. So what we're doing is we're starting with a big simple shape, and we're thinking purely in terms of very, very simple forms: eggs, spheres, a wedge shape for the nose, adding a couple of corners for where the face turns from the front to the side. And then we're thinking about the values, and then we're going to kind of nudge the actual details and features into that simple structure at the end. Okay? This is really a different way of thinking about drawing if normally you just kind of start trying to copy over the reference. But this is a really, really powerful way of drawing. This is what people say when they say draw like a sculptor. They're talking about stuff like this. This is really powerful for drawing faces, figures, animals, still life, anything that you like, you can draw in this manner. So I hope that the cutout thing was helpful and interesting. Tell me if it was helpful to you in the comments. I'd be curious to know. Did it help you kind of realize just how basic the actual underlying forms of your drawing can and should be? So let me know if that was at all eye-opening, or maybe it was just confusing. Let me know in the comments. If you're serious about portrait drawing and you want to learn the skills step by step, I've broken it down really concisely and clearly in our portrait course. The link is below, check it out. And there's another tutorial about portrait drawing up on the screen. It's really good. Check it out, and I'll see you over there.